Hey viewers, my name's Kara. I'm your host for Tuesdays on the Pagan Perspective. It's May 2014, and this week we're talking about the Satanic Temple monument that is proposed to be erected in Oklahoma. So the question was just, do we know about what's happening in Oklahoma related to the Satanic Monument, and what do we think of it? So I did hear about this back in December or January when it was first proposed, and now it's getting closer to being completed. The statue itself anyway, not the erection in the Capitol yard in Oklahoma. But I did look up some different articles today because I wanted to see if there's any new news that I hadn't heard yet, and there are some little things. So I'm going to link you to some articles in the description, and I encourage you to read them just because, and also read, there are many other news websites and things that have articles about this story, but I just picked a couple of them that stood out to me and that had interesting things to talk about. Each one touches on a little bit different side of the story. Some of them have information that the others do not. But first, let me just say, for those of you who don't know, there was a statue, a monument of the Ten Commandments, donated by an Oklahoma representative from the House of Representatives, donated to be placed in the yard of the Oklahoma State Capitol building. And Oklahoma State has a law, a state law, that prohibits public grounds, state grounds, from being used to promote any one religion. However, they decided to allow the Monument of the Ten Commandments because it was a privately funded donation and public funds were not used. So, based on that, the Oklahoma ACLU has contested the Ten Commandments monument because it goes against the state law that there shouldn't be anything religious on public grounds. And also the Satanic Temple has decided, well, that if they can do it, then we will also privately fund and donate a satanic monument to the state capitol. So basically what's going on is, if the state decides to allow one religion's monument, then they really should allow any religious monument, if that is the case. Or they should decide what the ACLU really wants is for there to be no religious monuments on the state capitol building. Which I think the Satanic Temple actually would agree with. They're just allowing another option, you know, because it's exactly what I say all the time. I don't mind if people wear religious symbols as long as everyone gets to wear their religious symbols. It's either all or none, in my opinion. So I support what's going on here, essentially. I think it's great that some religious group stepped up and offered an alternative, because it's one thing for a state to decide, should we allow the Ten Commandments on state property, or should we not? But when another opposing religious viewpoint is brought into it, then they're really forced to look at, okay, we're not just talking about whether we should allow the Ten Commandments or not, we're looking at, should we allow religious symbolism on state property or not? Because people forget that there are other religions out there. Some people don't even think of them as religions. So I support just the whole situation of reminding people that there's not just one and that it should be all or none. And I'm okay with people deciding on none. That's fine, because I personally don't think that there should be any sort of religious whatnot on state property, in public schools, etc., etc. So I have to talk about some of these articles. One of them that I'm linking is from Cron.com. Sort of just a general article about the subject. The Satanic Temple spokesman is Lucian Greaves, and he said, you know, this is part of our overall agenda to raise awareness not just of Satanism, but of marginalized groups in general. And this article also talks about, it's the first one I read that talked about how Oklahoma's Capital Preservation Commission declared a moratorium on any more monuments because after the Satanic Temple offered to donate a monument, they also heard from a Hindu group and People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals and the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Not sure why PETA wanted to donate it, but so they've heard from other religious groups that also want to donate monuments, but they have put a moratorium on that. However, the Satanic Temple is still going to create their monument because they figure even if it's not allowed to be in Oklahoma, we'll use it somewhere else. The article from FoxNews.com, sorry, I have to say it like that, you guys know Fox News. I can just imagine the author of this article, the writer, chuckling to himself as he wrote this opening line. "The Prince of Darkness won't see the light of day in Oklahoma if lawmakers have their way." He says that the statue is a way of protesting the Sooner State's placement of a Ten Commandments monument on the State House lawn. I don't think that it's a protest of the placement of the Ten Commandments monument so much as it is an invitation to practice what you preach, so to speak, and, if there's a law against this, don't make an exception for one person's religion and not for the rest. So I don't think it's a protest of that monument. They're perfectly okay with the fact that that monument is there as long as it means anyone else can have a monument there too. This article also refers to the statue as incorporating a hideous figure. I actually don't think it's not that bad of a statue, honestly, but then again, I'm me. Alex Weintz, spokesman for Governor Mary Fallon, said, "There will never be a satanic monument on the grounds of the Oklahoma State Capitol, and the suggestion that there might be is absurd." Well, I enjoy the absurd. I'm suggesting there might be. There either might be, or there will be no Ten Commandments monument. This article, however, also includes a quote from Brady Henderson, the legal director of the Oklahoma ACLU, who said, "We don't think the state should place religious artifacts on state property unless the people of the entire state agree with its message." But then it goes on to say, one of the concerns is that even if you allow all faiths to place something in a public area, it quickly becomes a farce. And I thought, what on earth does that mean? And the article goes on to say he cited an incident at the Florida State House in which the local government, I'm quoting here, the local government decided to allow all faiths to place holiday decorations in the State House rotunda next to a manger scene. He says, "What happened is that you had someone placing a Festivus pole made out of beer cans and one group placing a pile of spaghetti on top of a chair." That, of course, relating to the Festivus for the rest of us type thing and the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. And then he said, "So these types of things do nothing to uplift people's faiths and beliefs. There's nothing served by belittling them." That confuses me because while we may not be members of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, who are we to say that a symbol of that belief is belittled by being represented, or that someone else representing their beliefs is automatically belittling beliefs that are more widely accepted or more held by the majority. So I don't enjoy that he said that it was belittling. Another article that mentions the Florida State House thing is an article from the LA Times, which is called "Why Christians Should Embrace the Satan Statue in Oklahoma." And then toward the end of the article, it talks about Henderson speaking for the ACLU, where he says, "If the government creates a forum out there, if we're allowing people to speak their mind, then of course people will speak their mind. And sometimes those people are not the ones that the state might want to speak their minds." And it says that in the Florida Capitol situation, the Satanic Temple tried to be part of that. They wanted to have a symbol of the Satanic Temple at the rotunda, along with the Festivus pole and the spaghetti and all of that. And it says, "Pastafarians from the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster got space. So did a Festivus pole, inspired by the great Seinfeld episode. But when Satanists proposed a diorama of an angel falling into the fire, proclaiming happy holidays from the Satanic Temple, they were denied." And Mesner, which is the real name of Lucien Greaves, the spokesperson of the Satanic Temple, he said that he was surprised that they rejected them because they allowed demonstrations for the Festivus pole and the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, but denied the Satanic Temple. And this article ends by saying Florida was wrong. And more than that, the state behaved in an un-American manner. When you open the public's property to any expression of religion, talking to you, Oklahoma, this is still quoted, you have to open it to all religious expression. You may not like him, but Satan is a legitimate religious figure. The Flying Spaghetti Monster, not so much. End quote. Finally, the last article I want to share with you is from cnsnews.com, and the article itself is pretty usual. Talks about the lawsuit against the Ten Commandments monument from the ACLU, talks about how the Satanic Temple is going to donate this other thing. Oh, there's some more quotes from Greaves in this one. He says, "From the Satanic Temple's point of view, it is far better to have multiple viewpoints represented than to allow one single religion to feed a perception that they've co-opted the power and authority of the government." He also says, "Our monument will stand in honor of those unjustly accused, the slandered minority, the maligned outgroups, so that we might pay respect to their memory and celebrate our progress as a pluralistic nation founded on secular law." But the thing that I really need to point out from the CNS News article is the comments section, and the comments from real people, granted, hiding behind a computer screen, but real people, really just gets at why I support that this kind of thing is happening. Because people need to think about these things, people need to talk about these things, something needs to be done about the way that people think about things. I know we can't make people think any differently. However, let me just read you a couple of these. The first comment that I see on here when I got on here, the comment is from an hour ago. And the person says, I fail to see what contribution the other statue makes in any way. Moses was God's agency for law-giving, and the other is the father of all lies, according to Jesus. Ship it to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So I read that, and my first thought is, well, yeah, like you just said, according to Jesus. You're still speaking from one specific religious view, and not allowing the others. The next comment, from someone named Bradley, says, doesn't the Ten Commandments represent 3 religions, Judaism, Islamism, and Christianity? And the person who had left the first comment replied to this person and said no. And then Bradley says, it's yes, the Ten Commandments are found in the Old Testament of the Christian Bible, which is known as the Torah in Judaism. Also in the Quran, the Holy Book of Islam, the Ten Commandments are known as the verses of the Ten Commandments. The point I was making with my original commit is that the Ten Commandments are not excursively Christian, as everyone keeps suggesting. It seems that is a held belief because due to ignorance. And do is spelled D-O. I'm just saying. And then the first person replied again with a really long comment about what it actually is in Islam and what it actually is in Judaism. And he called it Islamism. So, what? This person, who clearly does not like Obama, based on their picture, says this is just another poke in the eye to Christians. They nuns like to tweak the believers. I hope when Judgment Day comes they've seen the error of their ways. Everyone thinks of people who don't believe in Christianity, or I suppose not in one of the major religions, they automatically assume that those people are non-believers. We're not non-believers, we believe in something. Satanists believe things. They're not non-believers, they just don't believe in the same thing that you do. This next person says, why doesn't this New York group put it next to a mosque in New York? Both religions sanctify child molestation. A couple people saying, I think this New York group should take the statue back to New York. Why does a New York group want to put a statue in Oklahoma? Why don't they just put it in New York? This person, whose name is independent_forever, says, WTF, is this a joke? Has this nation lost its collective mind to allow something like this to even see the light of day? Unbelievable. Comparing Christianity to this abomination is ridiculous and uncalled for. You know what? Here's your game plan. Deny it and let them cry like babies. Of course, some lame judge will toss out rational thought and hide behind some vaguely interpreted past legal decision to justify supporting this horrific thing. This nation is truly becoming godless, and it is sad. A vaguely interpreted past legal decision to justify allowing it? I think the only decision they need is, we said it was okay for the Ten Commandments, so not really vaguely interpreted. They said it was okay because it was a donation. Or they could take that one back and go with the law. And then there's a person named Gizmo who was commenting, thank you, Gizmo. RegBlank3 says, I have a feeling if this thing's actually placed, within a week it'll be so full of bullet holes people will think it's a monument to Swiss cheese. And Gizmo said, it would be a shame if people can't even respect other people's religion enough not to harm it. It's less than what the Christians expect out of everyone else. Towncar07 said, what is right about the acceptance of evil? The world has gone nuts in a devil's welcome mat. And Gizmo said, so not liking someone's religion gives you the right to harm it and dismiss it? I'll give you a hint. Satanism is legally equivalent to Christianity. GT says, Gizmo, you're an idiot. YOUR, an idiot. Satanism is not a religion, it's the devil. Everything bad in this world is from the devil. You wouldn't know the difference because you're not a believer in Christ. You better wake up, fool, or you will be left behind. You probably don't even know what I mean. Gizmo then said, Satanism is a religion. It might not be one you like, but it's still a religion. Offenhauer said, and morally equivalent to pedophilia. And Gizmo said, haha, wow. I guess you kinda have it right though. Most people don't find it morally questionable to be attracted to people you shouldn't be attracted to, nor is it morally questionable to subscribe to an alternative religion. Doing harm to others is where it becomes immoral. Lucky13 said, yeah, wouldn't want to do harm to an image of Satan. That would be like disrespectful or mean. And Gizmo said, yeah, it would. It's someone else's religious symbol. Why would you do harm to someone else's religious symbol? And then Moonbeam Watcher said, stones, bullets, and buckets of awful, OFFULL, would certainly be an enhancement to this stone hunk of defecation, DEFICATION. Oh, I forgot another one. Someone named Eric commented, so what exactly is the problem here? If the Christians are allowed to have a monument up, why can't the Satanists? I don't get the outrage. And then Psy Coach said, because the Christian monument is actually a set of laws. What exactly does the Satan statue represent? And then someone else said they're religious laws. Which of the 10 Commandments are laws in our country? And someone said, thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not kill come to mind. And then the person responded, it's thou shalt not murder, actually, but exactly correct, 2. So to say the 10 Commandments could be permitted because they're a set of laws is not an acceptable reason. They're religious laws with 2 commandments that pertain to our country's laws. The Bible isn't the only set of religious laws that object to stealing and murdering either. It's a religious monument, one that people have the right to erect, just as people believing in other religions have the same right to erect their displays. And then Barbara, who said this thing about it being a list of laws, said basically Satan represents evil, Satan's the ruler of the present world, they can do what they want, but I'm a Christian and I'm not afraid of it, and Satan has nothing to do with my world and I try to let him not rule it. That's fine. So I think that's just a lot of examples of why I like that this conversation is taking place, because there are a lot of double standards where these things are concerned, and I do just wish that people would go with what they decided. If we decided no religious monuments, that should mean no religious monuments. There shouldn't be able to be made exceptions for some people and not for others. So what do you all think about this? Have you found any other interesting articles? Have you heard any other interesting interviews with any of these spokespeople involved, whether it be from the Satanic Temple or from the ACLU or from the Oklahoma state government, anything like that? Are any of you from Oklahoma? How do you feel about this? Because I'm not from there. I do have a friend who's from there. I should ask him. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and Sierra's trying to get up to the camera. And goodbye. Bye.